Starbucks or someplace like you do from time to time, and they will ticket you in a heartbeat if you're 5 minutes late.
That's right.
You know, with all due respect, I think you should get rid of the parking meters.
Well, you know, we've had that discussion a few years back, and we went to the Chamber, we went to Main Street, Martinez, and the general consensus came back is that they didn't want to eliminate the parking meters because they felt that they needed, not besides the income that comes to the city, that there was really no other way to create parking spaces available where people would, without a parking meter, people would just park there all day long. Now, that's one way to look at it. If you do eliminate the meters, which I think is a wonderful thing in a perfect world, you really have to have very, very strict enforcement. So you still have to have those guys and gals down there issuing tickets if people are staying too long, past the 2-hour limit or the 1-hour limit.
I was in Vacaville over the weekend. They got rid of their meters, okay? Vacaville's an old town like us. Besides, we're having fiesta days. We need to do that. And then I was up in Calistoga, right? And I was sitting up there. I was up visiting. And in Calistoga, of course, they got rid of their meters. Vacaville got rid of Grants Pass, Oregon. They're all getting rid of their meters. And then you've got to have the person that enforces the 2-hour limit that you have typically, and they mark the tire and stuff like that. You don't need to get rid of the meters in the parking lots. You could keep with those. It's just on Main Street, on Estudillo Street, on Castro Street, on the 2-block area. Get rid of those things. I'm telling you, the small amount of money you bring in, all the parking meters, I think together probably at least bring in a couple $100,000 to the city.
Yes.
That's what I've been told. But the parking meters in the parking lots still will bring in over $150,000. Main Street's chippy money that you get there, in my opinion, I'd get rid of those things. They're really, people are afraid to go down there. You're going to get a parking ticket. All right, you've heard my speech.
Okay.
No, act on that. You really need to. Okay, we talked about the budget, and I appreciate you being well versed on this and giving us so much information because it is important for people. Total full-time employees, so you have 132 employees about approximately?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. If 50, well, only 28 of those people are officers, sworn. Of course, there's more than, there's probably at least 50 people working for the police department, I would say.
Right, we have non-sworn folks that either work in the office or give parking tickets or or, you know,
all the things that the city has that are necessary. And so let's talk about the budget reductions. Are you going through budget reductions?
We are. In fact, the city of Martinez several years ago adopted a 2-year budget cycle, which has been working wonderfully. We are now just completing the first year of the current 2-year budget cycle. We made some budget adjustments in February to the current year in the amount of about $500,000, which means that we had about $500,000 less income than we had expected, and that's primarily due to the economy, due to the real estate market, due to sales tax dropping, development fees dropping, and so on. So we made those budget adjustments. What we're going to be looking at this Wednesday at our council meeting are budget adjustments for the 08-09 year, for next year. And those adjustments could be anywhere from $500,000 to, at the worst case scenario, $1 million. But I think we're looking at about a little over $500,000 in adjustments at this point. And that will include, well, we've already given notices to temporary employees, not full-time regular employees, just some temporary employees, but reducing costs. We're restricting travel, we're restricting training, we're looking at possibly reducing support to some of the nonprofits that we support at this point, which is the Chamber and Martinez, Main Street, and so on. But we'll have that discussion on Wednesday.
I wouldn't cut Main Street Martinez at all. If anybody needs help, they do, and I appreciate whatever support you're giving them. How much does the city of Martinez give the Main Street, approximately?
We give them $50,000 a year.
Good, good.
And
they
the
need
Chamber
it
as well.
They need it.
Well, I have to tell you, I think Main Street has come a long way. Their executive director, Leanne Peterson, has really charged up that organization. They're working well with the Chamber.
Okay, good.
I think they're doing a wonderful job. So let me tell you, between you and I and everyone else, I support retaining their $50,000.
Well, good, good. Now, how much does the Chamber get?
Same, $50,000.
Okay, so then they have more dues, though.
Yeah, and then they operate a visitor center at the train station as well.
They're
so
they're in kind of the visitor business, almost, you know.
Exactly.
And so somebody's got to pick up the slack. But what's the movement on redevelopment? What's going on? Let's get the gloves out.
Okay,
Come on, let's
all
get
right.
the gloves out.
Well, as you know, Tom, I'm a supporter of redevelopment.
Right.
You know, we've gone through the redevelopment discussion in the past.
Yeah.
We held an advisory vote several years
Yeah.
ago because it narrowly passed on that. The council moved forward and started the process, which was then referended. And so that redevelopment.
Wait, hold it. For people to understand, the opponents of redevelopment went out and got enough signatures to put it on the ballot.
Correct.
Okay.
And so what we eventually did is we decided, you know, we're not going to put this on the ballot yet. Let's do the downtown specific plan first, and then we'll decide redevelopment. Well, we finished the downtown specific plan, and just recently, a few months ago, we decided to rescind the redevelopment ordinance that was referended and start from scratch.
Okay.
Start over. And so what we've done now, though, is the council, in a general discussion, has decided not to abandon redevelopment, but not to move so fast on it in order to force it to a vote in the next November election coming up. The reason being is because we also have a proposal for a parks and library bond issue that we would like to see on the November ballot. It could, we're talking about numbers of maybe $30–35 million. We're not sure. We haven't landed on any number yet. We're trying to identify the costs of certain capital projects that are necessary. So the thought is that, you know, if we're going to...
Let me ask you a question. I don't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt you. I know your train of thought's moving and you're explaining things, but $35 million payable into the restricted budget?
It would definitely be restricted for nothing but capital improvements for parks and libraries. So we're talking about Rankin Park Pool, which is a wonderful facility, but it's really lived out its useful life because it's so expensive to maintain, needs to be rebuilt. And that would be one of the projects. Another project would be to replace bathrooms that are aging in all of our parks, walkways, irrigation systems, ball fields, community centers, and so on. So there's
Wouldn't we get more parks, though?
No, we're not talking about buying any new land for parkland. We're talking about improving the existing parks.
So $35 million to improve the existing parks, $35 million paid over how long a period of time?
Well, the bonds would be 30-year bonds. So,
Okay.
so the electorate would be voting to tax themselves over a 30-year period. However, the bonds would more than likely be issued over a 6-month or a 1-year period, so we could get the money to do these projects over a period of several years.
Okay.
So
And it would go into the restricted budget?
definitely.
Yeah.
Could not be used for maintenance, could not be used for operations.
Okay, so that would increase the size of the city budget, but really not affect the amount of employees and stuff like
Correct.
that, right? So
Correct.
you wouldn't offset your budget.
Not at all. Not all. It would have really nothing to do with the budget, other than
Okay.
one thing that we have to be very, very careful of is
Yeah.
that we want to make sure we can maintain the new facilities that we're talking about. But
Yeah.
when you look at it, it's much easier to maintain new facilities than it is to maintain aging facilities, which we have now.
Yeah. Now, with regard to the swimming pool in Rankin Park, there's no attempt to close those, is there?
Well, actually, the county came to us this last summer and said, you know, even though you maintain your pool very well and your filtration system, it does not meet county and state health regulations because we have 3 pools. We have the diving pool, we have the tot pool, and we have the regular pool. They're all filtered on one system. State environmental law today says that they have to be filtered separately. So that means that we would have to do a major retrofit of our filtration system, which we don't have the money to do. So yes, to answer your question, if we didn't do those improvements, we would have to close that pool. And we don't want to do that.
I think you're grandfathered in.
Not according to, they've grandfathered us a couple of years, but they've given us the ultimatum.
Tell them to give me a call.
I will.
Now listen, but now keep this up. Now, so do you politically think, there's a political question here, do you think that the bond measure will pass?
It's going to be close. And that's one of the reasons we were talking about redevelopment. That's one of the reasons that the council has decided not to abandon redevelopment, but not to actively pursue it at this point.
I see.
In order to get this bond issue passed, the Parks and Library bond issue passed, we have to unite as a community. We have to unite in not only as a community, but also as a campaign committee, raising funds. We have to have a very, very strong program in order to get this passed. And if we're fighting over here on redevelopment, it's not going to work.
Do you have the unanimous support of the City Council for the Parks and Bonds measure?
Well, let me tell you, we took a vote, kind of a straw vote the other night to give the people that are working on the campaign committee some measure of feel of how the council is. And we voted 4-0 to 1 to move forward with the parks bond issue. So we had 4 in favor, no No one voted no, but we had one member that abstained because they felt that they needed more information before they would get behind it.
Okay, all right. So, and what, have you had any polling done or anything?
We have.
And what's the polling look like?
Well, the polling that tells us that we need a very well-financed, well-organized, very grassroots campaign in order to win this one.
Okay.
Plus, we don't need any competing issues such as redevelopment.
Yeah. How much is it going to cost per household?
Well, we haven't come down on a number, whether it's 35 million, 30 million, and so on. But
if you told me it's 35 million, I'm going to vote against it. But if you tell me it's $15 a year for me as a homeowner, I'll say fine.
Right. No, we're probably talking, it's per $100 of assessed value. But from what I understand it, we were talking $30 per $100 of assessed value.
All right.
So you have a $100,000 home, it's $30. You have a $300,000 home, it's close to $100, $90.
A year?
Per year.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You know what? It would seem to. I hope it passes.
I hope it does too.
Yeah, I hope it passes. Well, anyway, we're getting towards the end, Mayor Schroder, and thank you very much for coming. I really do, and
My pleasure,
I appreciate
Tom.
it. And keep up those Friday night fights. So we'll be looking forward to them on our television shows because Comcast carries that on Friday nights. Although I think you could improve the cameras, the angle, and everything. No, you give it a little more. You know, you got a great drama there. You got some good issues.
No, actually, we are doing those improvements. We're buying new cameras and more
angles. Yeah,
Correct.
maybe a director and stuff like that, and get some angles so people can really see who it is.
Yep.
And of course that'll increase the opera and the drama of it all. But having said that, I want to shake your hand and thank you for coming.
Thanks, Tom.
I know that your beautiful wife Carol is ill, and all our heart goes out to you as mayor and for your wife, and the prayers for your wife. God love your wife Carol. Everybody respects and loves her, and give her our best. Would you please?
Will. Thank you.
Until next time, this is Tom Greerty. Been here with Mayor Schroder, the city of Martinez, and God bless and good night. Thank you. Bye now.